Welcome to Lotus Lane Daily. I'm glad you're here. Today's wisdom is for anyone at war with their own reflection. You know that feeling when you catch your reflection somewhere you didn't expect it. A shop window, a phone camera accidentally flipped, a mirror in bad lighting, and something in you just drops? Not a gentle sadness, a hard, fast drop, like missing a step in the dark. And then the voice starts. You know the one. It doesn't use kind words. If you're reading this at 2 a.m., I'm guessing you're tired. Not just sleepy tired. Tired in a way that sleep doesn't really fix. Tired of fighting something you can't put down and can't walk away from because it goes everywhere you go. Your own body, your own face, the reflection that has somehow become the enemy. I want to start by saying something that might feel uncomfortable. What you're going through is not vanity. It is not weakness. It is one of the most exhausting fights a person can be in, precisely because it never pauses. You can take a break from a difficult job. You can leave a difficult room. You cannot leave your body. You cannot unfeel your skin. And in a world that constantly tells you to love yourself while also selling you 17 products to fix yourself, the confusion and the pain can become genuinely unbearable. So let's not do the usual thing. Let's not talk about self-love routines or gratitude lists right now. Let's just sit with what's actually happening, what the war actually is. When you look in the mirror and feel that drop, that hot flash of something like shame or disgust or grief, you are not seeing yourself clearly. That's not an insult. That's just what happens when the judging mind takes over the looking. The image in the mirror stays the same, but what you see is filtered through every cruel thing anyone ever said, every comparison you've made, every moment you felt like you weren't enough. You're not looking at your body. You're looking at a story about your body. This distinction matters more than it sounds. The war feels like it's between you and your reflection, but your reflection is just light and glass. The actual war is happening inside, between the part of you that is suffering and the part of you that has decided that suffering is deserved. That second part, the one that thinks you deserve to feel this bad, is the real problem, and it is not telling the truth. Why? Just accept yourself doesn't work. Here's what nobody tells you about body image struggles. Telling yourself to accept what you see is often completely useless advice, and sometimes makes things worse. Because if you're already in a war with your reflection, adding the instruction "now also accept it" is just another demand you're failing to meet. Another way to be wrong. What actually helps is not acceptance as a performance. It's something quieter. It starts with noticing that the voice doing all the judging, that sharp, relentless voice, is not actually you. It is a habit. It is a pattern that got laid down, probably years ago, and it runs automatically now like a program in the background. You didn't choose it. You can slowly start to change it, but you can't force it off with willpower in a single night. One practical thing you can do right now, when the voice starts, don't argue with it. Don't try to replace it with compliments. Just notice it. Say to yourself, quietly, "There's that voice again." That small step, naming it, separating yourself from it slightly, is not nothing. It is actually the beginning of something. What ancient wisdom knew that we forgot? There's a line from a collection of philosophical letters written in 13th century Japan that has stayed with me since I first encountered it. It says something like this: "Health is not simply the absence of illness. It is a dynamic state of vitality in which we can take on any challenge." Read that again slowly. Health is not the absence of illness. This means health is not the absence of the wrong body shape, the wrong skin, the wrong face. Health is not the absence of flaws. It is something active, a capacity, not a condition. It is about whether you have enough life force to meet what's in front of you. This idea completely changes the question. Instead of "what's wrong with how I look?" the question becomes, "do I have enough vitality to live today?" And that is a question you can actually work with. The same tradition of thought makes another point that hits differently when you're at war with yourself. The life force in you, your basic, irreducible aliveness, is not broken. It does not need fixing. The same letters describe this as the greatest medicine available to any person, one that activates the body's natural healing powers, not external remedies, something already present in you. You are not a broken thing waiting to be fixed. You are a living thing that has been told repeatedly that you are broken. Those are not the same situation, practical things that actually help. Philosophy can point in a direction, but at 2 a.m., you need something to do with your hands, so to speak. Here are a few things that are small enough to actually try. Change your relationship with mirrors, not your relationship with your face. You don't have to love what you see, but you might try spending less time in the looking, especially when you know the voice is already loud. Deliberately limiting mirror checking during bad periods is not avoidance. It's basic harm reduction. You wouldn't stand next to something that was hurting you if you had the choice to step away. Write down what the voice says. All of it. Get it out of your head and onto paper. When you see it written down, two things often happen. It looks more extreme than it felt inside your head, and it stops looping. The thoughts lose some power when they're external rather than interior. Find one thing your body did today, not how it looked. Not I have good hair. That's still about appearance. But my hands typed something. My legs carried me to the kitchen. I breathed through a hard moment. This is not toxic positivity. It is a deliberate redirection of attention toward function and away from appearance. And with enough practice, it very slowly starts to shift what feels real. Talk to someone, not to get advice, just to not be alone with it. The war becomes bigger when it's fought in silence at 2 a.m. If there's no one to call right now, even writing out what you're feeling, here, in a journal, anywhere, is a form of company. The thing underneath the war. Sometimes the fight with the reflection is really a fight about something else entirely. Sometimes it's about control. When everything else feels uncertain, the body becomes the one thing that feels like it should be manageable. Sometimes it's grief. Sometimes it's self-punishment for something you've decided you did wrong. Sometimes it's a way of keeping yourself small because something about being seen feels dangerous. You don't have to figure out which one it is tonight, but it might be worth sitting with the question. If I suddenly, magically, looked exactly the way I think I want to look, would the voice stop? For most people who have been in this fight a long time, the honest answer is probably not, because the voice would find something else. It always does, which tells you that the voice is the problem, not the reflection. The 13th century letters I mentioned earlier spend a great deal of time on a single idea, that the life you have, the one you're living right now, in this body, on this night, is not a rehearsal for some better life when conditions improve. It is the actual life. To understand life, one passage says, we must understand death. And what it means, stripped of any religious language, is this. This is real, right now. You are real, right now. Not when you've fixed yourself, now. If you're still awake, put the phone down soon. Not because this isn't worth thinking about. It is. But your brain at 2 a.m. is not your most accurate brain, and the voice gets louder when you're exhausted. The thoughts feel more permanent than they are. Here is what I want you to carry with you, as simply as I can say it. You are not losing this war because you are defective. You are in this war because you were taught to be. And things that are learned can, over time and with the right support, be unlearned. Not overnight, not by force, but they can change. The reflection in the mirror is not your enemy. It is just you, an ordinary, complicated, real human being who is having a very hard time right now. That person in the glass deserves a little more gentleness than they're getting tonight. Start there. Just a little more gentleness. That's enough for tonight. That's the wisdom for today. If something here landed for you, share it with one person who might need to hear it too. Take it slow. I'll see you tomorrow on Lotus Lane Daily.